Hi pals, it's me, Artie, then pronouns only, and this video I thought I would just sort of go through some of the questions that are in the ASC, which is the new version of ASD. So I think it's Autism Spectrum Condition rather than disorder. Don't know if that's any better. Yeah, self-report pre-assessment questionnaire. This one is for me to fill in. I do have the other one for, like parent, guardian, someone who's known me a long time to fill in. Yeah, I just wanted to go through this because I have a lot of mixed feelings about this form. The opening, couple of questions are things like, reason for assessment. What do you hope to achieve in this meeting? Was it your idea or somebody else's to seek an assessment? So my autistic self was very much like,
I think I'm autistic. I would like to get a diagnosis so I can get support for my autism. ?
Then the first lot of questions are really confusing to me and why they were in my form to fill in. Please tell us about your family, parents, siblings, spouse, partner, children, grandparents. What do you want to know? I don't... So far my answer is just, we're all a bit weird. How do you get along with your family? Who is closest to you? If you don't get along with any family members, why do you think that is? How often do you have contact with your family and by what means? Text, face-to-face contact, talk on the phone. And then it's personal history, which was the one that really was like, I don't know how I would know how to answer these questions. What was your mother's pregnancy like while she was carrying you? Were there any difficulties or issues? Was your birth at, before or after the expected date? How were you born? Natural delivery, cesarean, forceps, blah blah blah. Some of these things are quite common questions in generally a lot of health related forms, but they just get more and more specific. What were you like as a baby? Settled, cried a lot, didn't sleep, often sick. Have you been or are you a clumsy person? At what age did you do the following things? Babble, talk, walk, no longer need nappies, tie shoelaces, fasten and undo buttons, use zips, ride a bicycle, throw and catch balls. I really don't know how I would answer all those questions, especially things like babbling and talking. And I don't know how I would know the specifics of me as a baby or my mum's birth experience or pregnancy experience. Did you like cuddles as a child? If so, was this with a specific person? If you have siblings, did you like to play with them as a child, or did you prefer to play alone? If you did play with siblings, what types of games did you do? So there's a lot of questions then about siblings, and I'm an only child, so I don't know how I'm supposed to answer those questions when they are only asking about siblings. Did you used to enjoy playing with children in the neighbourhood as a little child? Did you initiate play with other children? Did you ever collect toys or memorabilia? If so, what were they and do you still have them?
I don't know, my guy.
Did you have any preference for one toy, film, game, character and became very attached and fascinated with it? Was it intense, obsessional and dominated your time and fantasy? Again, I don't remember a lot of my childhood. This was something that came up with my ADHD assessment, is that a lot of the questions asking me about childhood. I don't remember. I have no idea. I could answer those questions about being a teenager. But a lot of this I don't personally remember. Did you go on holidays with your family? What aspects did you enjoy? And what did you not enjoy? Again, how would I don't know how to answer that question. Did you used to attend family parties or gatherings? What did you and did you not enjoy about those? Did you have any significant illness, accident or specific needs that required intervention from professionals in your early childhood? Again, really vague. There's 73 question boxes, but each of them seems to have multiple questions in each box, which makes it harder to answer because you're then not really sure what they're asking. Because, I did have significant illnesses. I did have a couple of accidents as a child. I fractured my right elbow, but it's the part of that needs, then also or specific needs that required intervention from professionals. What does that mean? Who is considered a professional? This is my main issue with a lot of questions like this. I'm like, okay, what do you consider a professional though? Because I don't really consider anybody a professional. Then it goes into this was a really difficult section for me. Luckily, I think I did it all in one go. But this is my first draft. I said to a friend of mine, only autistics draft their forms. And that's a light-hearted joke. I'm sure other people probably draft their forms too, but like, it just seems to be a very common thing among autistic people filling in forms is that they do a once over and then have to go over it a few times by themselves or with other people. But yeah, this section was hard because it's basically asking, what was your trauma throughout your entire life that was related to being autistic? So yeah, it also asks me for everywhere I went to school or nursery. I don't fucking know. Why do you need to know that? Like, I don't know why they need to know what nursery, preschool, infant school, primary school and secondary school I went to. Why do they need that listed? Like, just ask me the questions. But then, yeah, it goes into asking, did you need to change schools? What were the reasons? Did you ever get issued with a statement of educational need at school? Don't even know what that is. Did you receive any additional support in school to help you engage in lessons or learn? Did you enjoy nursery? I don't fucking know, my guy. How old is nursery school age? Because like, they listed a bunch of different schools, school types. I don't know what any of those are. What age? Just ask me what age range, please. Do you know what teachers' feedback said about you? If so, what was it? And then, yeah, they're asking for a lot of the feedback from your teachers. So you need to basically come back to this another time anyway when you've fucking found and looked through all of that. So that's another reason why this is my first draft, because I've tried to answer everything as much as I possibly can to then come back and input more information once I have the evidence of my autism in other aspects. Again, did you enjoy preschool? Why not? Etc, etc. Did you enjoy infants? Why not? Did you enjoy primary school? Why not? Did you enjoy secondary school? Why not? And still asking the feedback. How well did you cope with the transitions between schools? What subjects did you enjoy during school? Did you make friends at school? And then it was, yeah, asking about your social life. Do you still see your old friends from school? Did you used to go to any clubs or do out of school activities? Did you get any qualifications from school? What were they? Did you do any further education after secondary school? If so, what did you do? What did you achieve? And then it lists, you know, different kinds of qualifications, which is the only helpful thing they've done so far. If you attended, did you enjoy college or university? Why or why not? So then there's like, yeah, more questions that some people may not even be able to answer. So it's just kind of pointless to have all of these questions here. If you attended, did you get on with other students? When you were doing further education, did you make any friends? If so, who were they? Also, why does it matter who my fucking friends were? I just find that a really strange question. Do they mean, you know, if I said my only friends were my teachers, is that autistic enough? Then it goes on to jobs, which is also the other shitty part of this bit for me. School and jobs have basically been extremely traumatic. Just repeatedly, constantly, constant trauma. Every time, all the time I was in school, every time I had a different job, all trauma. So yeah, again, they're asking for all of my job roles, the employers and the dates of employment. And it's like, this is not a CV, my guy. This is an autism assessment. I don't think I should have to give you all of these details like it's a CV. Like, sure, ask me some more details about the jobs I had and why the fuck it was hard and why I struggled, which then does come up. But I don't see why I have to list. Why do I have to tell you my employer? Are you going to report them for me? How well have you got along with your colleagues at work? And I think it's interesting that it's now in present tense. I'm not in work, love. I do not work. Fuck off. Why do you think I shout at my phone and put the videos on the internet? Did you form friendships, socialise outside of work? Have you ever been bullied in the workplace? Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for making me divulge those details. Have you ever experienced any difficulties that resulted in you having to leave your job? If so, what were they? Oh, you mean the bullying that you asked about in the previous question is not enough of a reason? Yes, as you can imagine, these questions have paragraphs and paragraphs of answers from me. Because also, like, I have to tell them about every job as well. So it's like, okay, I've got a long history of different jobs I've had, my guy, because I'm autistic and would burn out and would be bullied out of my job. So, social communication is its own category. Do you ever misinterpret? Oh, no mood. I can't read. I'm dyslexic. Do people ever misinterpret what you say and mean? If so, in what way? So like, this is where some of it felt like, oh, okay, this is maybe, I feel a bit more comfortable with some of these questions. I'm like, oh yeah, this makes sense. I feel like the questions being asked in this are definitely better than the questions of like the tick boxes in the AQ50, which are very stereotypical. I want to go through those another time as well. But like, then there's some questions that just make me go, this feels like a trap. This feels like you're going to use this particular question to tell me I'm not autistic because I don't fit the usual box. But some of the questions are like very evidently not within the box of stereotypical autism stuff. So yes, again, paragraphs. Do you ever misinterpret what people say to you or what they intend? If so, in what way? I do also like that they asked if people misunderstand me first, rather than do you misunderstand people first? Because I feel like that matters, because a lot of the misunderstanding is put on autistic people when we have always been forced to adapt to everybody else. And I think I've said a million times here, probably even in that communication video that I did, God, like maybe 2 years ago now, that, you know, I've learned no matter how I approach a conversation, if that person is not willing to work with me in the communication we are having together, it doesn't matter how I approach the conversation, they will always be misunderstanding me. Like, yes, a lot of labour is put on autistic people to be understood, but the audience who are misunderstanding are not actually interested in understanding. Do you ever find it difficult to be in social situations with people you know or you don't know? If so, why, and what helps you cope with these situations? So like, for a start, they're asking me to talk about 2 different situations in one question, and then to explain more about each of those situations as well. Can you easily understand non-verbal communication, body language, gestures, facial expressions, group dynamics? To be fair, I did not fully take in group dynamics. I might make a note on this. Hierarchies. Don't get it. If you struggle with any, which ones are more difficult for you? So in some ways, I think it's useful that they kind of group a few different things into one category of question, because, you know, they are linked, but it does make it a little bit difficult to answer sometimes. Because, yeah, there's just a lot of information that I find really difficult to answer in full in a question without it being an essay. A lot of my answers are essays. Do you understand humour, banter, sarcasm, metaphors, or euphemisms? If you struggle with any, which ones do you find more difficult to understand? So this is one that I hate quite a lot. This is one of the ones that I go, I feel like this is a trap because autistic people are really funny. I'm really funny. So like, yeah, I do understand humour, banter, sarcasm, metaphors, and euphemisms. I'm a writer. I am a performer. I like to joke around with my friends. I'm very sarcastic. So my opening sentence for my reply is, I do understand humour, but I think most people's humour is not funny and is just mean, hidden as a joke. Because am I wrong? Am I wrong? The jokes I don't find funny are the jokes that are just really mean and offensive, or like very overtly sexual that I don't find funny or clever in another way. So yeah, I then go into more detail about the others, like all of the specifics of these things too. Are you able to recognise, name and express your own emotions? If not, in what ways do you struggle with this? So yeah, again, this is one of those things of like, well, I struggle less now, but only because I've been practicing for over a decade in like therapy and counselling. I have been seeing therapists and counsellors since maybe aged somewhere around 15 to 16 is when I first saw like a counsellor at school, and was first sort of seeing people like in CAMS, like the local counselling things, and then therapists and counsellors and stuff when I was at university, and now obviously I've had a private therapist for like a few years. So I just had to explain that, yeah, it has been really difficult, but I'm a lot better at it now because I found a space where I was allowed to try and explore those feelings and those words without fear of judgment or being misunderstood, because that's, you know, a lot of the friendships I'd had through those years, it was not a safe space to fumble through the wrong words when trying to talk about how I felt. And that's why it took me so long and still does take me a long time to process how I feel and naming the feeling. Like, I know when I feel off or uncomfortable about something or an interaction I've had with someone, but it can take me time to like really pinpoint, oh, it's because of ableism, for example. Are you able to imagine how other people may be feeling? If not, in what way do you struggle with this? And again, I am unfortunately one of the hypersensitive, hyper-aware autistic people because of fun trauma that has led to me being hyper-aware of other people's feelings and hyper-aware of people's non-verbal cues, because I didn't know what caused them, but I started to learn what the warning signs were. This was another one that made me feel a bit, can you feel empathy? And are you able to show empathy? How do you express it? I think that are you able to show empathy is an interesting one, actually. I wouldn't expect that to be on this questionnaire, really, as well as like how do you express it? Because yeah, again, very sensitive. I'm overly empathetic, but I'm not that great at showing it. And I'm just very lucky in the friends I have at the moment that I feel able to be awkwardly empathetic in my own way. Like, they know that I care, even though my display of that care is just a bit clunky and weird. Can you initiate conversation? Can you maintain conversations with people even if the topic does not interest you? If not, what do you struggle with? I also find this idea of can you initiate conversations a bit strange, because I don't really initiate conversations with strangers because I don't want to, and they don't go well. But I initiate conversations all the time with my friends who are also autistic or at least some kind of neurodivergent. You know? Are we seeing a common theme here? The common theme is I have less problems when I have neurodivergent friends. Are you able to routinely look people in the eyes when you talk to them? No. And they're also in the same question. Do you routinely use gestures and change the tone of your voice to enhance what you are saying to someone? I don't feel like those two things are related. I think they should have been separate questions, because I don't think eye contact has anything to do with if you're good at storytelling, basically, and like emoting in a performance kind of way, because that is something I learned. I went to drama classes from the age of like 6 or 7, and I was, as we know, obsessed with America's Next Top Model. I learned that I had to move my face, well, for one, for performance value, to incite a reaction, but also I learned I had to do it so people fucking understood me more. And even then, people still don't fucking understand me. So yeah, that annoyed me that they were both in the same question, but at least I feel able to like address them separately. Do people describe you as an opinionated person? Would you describe me as an opinionated person? And again, they grouped a few things I don't think really go together, because they've put that with, do you have black and white thinking, and do you think literally? Number one, what do you mean by do I think literally? What does that mean? like, I genuinely, I think some of these questions I'm going to leave like my answer as, I don't know what that means. That is vague. What does that mean? Because like, what, like, I understand the concept of, you know, do you take people literally? Do you speak very literally? But do I think literally? And there's no example? Like, I don't know what that means. And then like the whole black and white thinking, yes and no. Like, for one, I have BPD, so of course I have some black and white thinking. And also, yeah, I'm autistic, so I do have some black and white thinking. But because I'm autistic, I'm also very logical and nuanced in a lot of what I think about things and how I see things and feel about things. I don't understand. Don't understand, bitch. Don't understand, bitch. I don't understand, bitch. So, we are only on question 50, by the way. Or question box 50. Routines and repetitive interests / sensitivities. Do you currently have any physical or mental routines? If so, what are they? So I had to try and explain my routines, which is not that easy to do, to be honest. My routines, I mean, if we go back to like the pacing video, I kind of talk a bit there about how like routine is helpful, but it also has to be flexible when you're a sick person. But also I would say the same for neurodivergent people, because for one, the overlap is huge, but also like even if you don't have physical illnesses but are neurodivergent, there are a lot of things that can burn you out, which do, you know, burnout does then cause a lot of like physical related issues and reactions. What was my point? Oh yeah, and it also says like things that you like to do at a set time or in a set way. I'm really peculiar about my food, but like I don't know. Maybe I might add another note to this one as well, to be fair, because I just had a thought. I have so many routines, but also my routines are weird. Like I have a weekday routine, I have a weekend routine, I have a morning routine, I have a night routine, and I have certain days of the week kind of routine. Like my Thursday mornings are my chronic illness support group video call for like an hour or longer. That's part of my overall routine, but it doesn't mean my routine is exactly the same every single day. But there is a routine. It's just hard to then like actually verbalize and explain. So that was a hard one. I don't like it. Do you have difficulties coping with change? If your plans change unexpectedly, if so, can you give some examples and how it affects you? So like, yeah, this one was hard to give examples. I've literally made I have a note on here to think and give examples for this particular point. How do you spend your time at home? Are you satisfied with how you spend your time? This one seems a bit out of the blue. I don't know, but I did answer it. This one I haven't answered. Do you like having any order to your belongings? If so, can you provide examples? Because I don't know. Like, this is a thing that's not... I might add in my note that I made earlier for something else. But like, you know, I don't really have that typical order to my belongings vibe. Like, yeah, that's something that I can't really conceptualize. Again, it doesn't really have examples. It isn't very clear. And I know a lot of people argue the point of like, oh, they shouldn't give examples because then it's just giving you the answer. And it's like, but autistic people's minds work better in like a comparative way. It's easier for us to compare it to something that's been given as an example versus trying to just conjure up a thing without some previous explanation, examples, etc. If you have to do something new or go somewhere new, how do you prepare yourself? Which I think is like a fair one to ask. I think this one links really well with the PIP question about travelling and following a journey, which I never get points for. They literally never listen to anything I've written in that section ever. I think partly because I don't have the right diagnosis to confirm the experiences I explain about travelling and following a journey and stuff like that. Plus it's PIP. They really literally just ignore everything you say and make up their own version based on how many people they've already accepted or not. What are your interests? How all-absorbing are they? How much time spent thinking about them and how much money spent on them? It's really strange they haven't got full sentences in here. Do you like to talk about them a lot? Like, this is so many questions in one box. Do you like to talk about them a lot and sometimes find yourself self-suppressing? Find yourself self-suppressing? Weird sentence structure. My God, someone pay me to write this, because what the fuck? Please. Self-suppressing, doing so out of social convention. That was the worst fucking sentence I've read in my life. Do your friendships and social life revolve solely or mainly around your interests? How much time each week do you engage in these interests? That is all one question box. That is a lot of information to provide and a lot of things to try and like think about and clarify. I found this really hard to answer because I always find what are your interests and your hobbies, or what is your special interest, really difficult to answer, because I feel like a lot of my special interests or hobbies or whatever kind of come under its own, like they all have their own way of connecting to each other. And I feel like that's where my ADHD links with my autism quite a lot, is that my ADHD needs that like there is such a good word people use and I can't fucking remember what it is. It's so annoying because like it's like I can kind of see and hear and say the word, but I can't put any of those things together into actually saying or remembering the word. Novelty? I think it's novelty. Yes, finally. Oh my God, that was so annoying. This has been happening a lot recently. I keep forgetting the word novel/novelty. Yeah, like this is where the ADHD and autism combine in my own experience, is that, yeah, I might have like a few special interests, but I need to keep them interesting and novel for the ADHD part of my brain, whilst I could combine a load of these different interests, you know, lots of interests that I flick around in ADHD style. They can all be kind of combined into certain subcategories of thing, which is the autism. Like a lot of these things can come under communication specifically, like storytelling, writing, making my videos, watching and consuming media, reading books. Those can all come under different kinds of like communication. But I find it really hard to just go, my special interest is communication, because it doesn't feel like it does it justice and doesn't explain any of that. So yeah, I found this one hard to answer for that particular reason, and I really hate answering that question anyway, because yeah, I enjoy doing lots of things. I enjoy learning, I enjoy trying new things, which is kind of like the opposite of what's typically expected of autistic people. Do you do anything repetitively? If so, what? And then they gave some examples, like buy the same brands, eat the same foods, repeated body movements, intense interests. So yeah, that one's a little bit easier to answer, but also really difficult, because I was like, I don't know how to give examples of repetitive things I do. Like, I don't know. However, I did include my doing accents, but like in my mind, it's very specifically the Australian accent is the thing that I do repeatedly. It's basically just vocal stimming at this point, and maybe a little bit of echolalia. So I did include that because I definitely like attach to certain accents and voices, and yeah, I definitely repeat a lot of like memes and stuff, which I'm sure a lot of us do. Do you have any sensitivity or reduced sensitivity? I don't know why they've got a slash there. Stupid. To light, sound, taste, smell, touch, texture, pressure without a comma between texture and pressure, so I don't know what texture pressure is. Temperature. If so, which ones and in what way? So again, that's a fucking lot of things to answer. And like I said, the grammar and like writing structure of this form is shit. So a lot of the questions are more confusing because they haven't proofread it. They haven't autistic proofed it. So I pointed out that I don't know what texture pressure is, but if you mean texture and pressure separately, here is what I think. But yeah, so I basically had to say, yeah, I am sensitive to all of the above. And here is why/how. We're getting closer to the end. Don't worry. Okay, we've then got like, are you able to for like daily living activities, which I think will also be a good thing to use for PIP as well, because daily living, obviously. So yeah, it's got the activity on one end, yes with support, and no. So we've got cooking, shop for food, shop for clothes, housework, laundry, make appointments, attend appointments, use public transport, manage money, use a phone, drive, ask for help. Then your current situation, present social circumstances. Do you live alone or with other people? If you live with other people, who are they? And it's like, I feel like I already answered this question. It's a bit weird to have this question right at the end when it feels like these are like the introduction questions in most forms. Are you currently working or in education? If so, what are you doing? How many hours is this each week? Again, these, the introductory questions. Why are you asking me at the very end of this form? Are you currently in a romantic relationship? If so, who with? How long have you been in this relationship? Have you had previous relationships? Tell us about them. So then it's like you have to talk about your past relationships, which God knows, for some people that can be a lot of relationships. For me, that's like not that many, but I don't want to talk about them. I don't want to talk about them. Do you have any friends? Again, I feel like this has been approached in other questions. If so, who are they? How long have you known them? And how often do you have contact with them? This makes me feel like I have to list my friends by name and list how long I've known them and how often I have contact with them, which feels over the top. So I've tried to just answer vaguely. I don't like that question. That one is one that feels kind of like a trick. Are you involved in any clubs, groups, or other organised activities? Why have they written it like that as well? So they've written it, are you involved in any clubs, groups, or other organised, e.g. cultural or spiritual activities? Why did you put the e.g. in the middle of the sentence and not in brackets? If so, what are these and how many hours each week do you participate in them? Do you have a strong preference for online social communication or interaction? What do you find easier about online compared to offline social communication? Which again, I feel like that's actually a semi-decent question. A lot of people don't seem to understand or realise a lot of these things are like a big part of being autistic is that a lot of people actually prefer written communication because they feel like they can process what's been, like for me personally anyway, I can process what somebody said to me, I can respond in my own time, I can read over what I've said, I can deal with my own sort of emotions or thoughts outside of that situation if needed. And then it's like your overall health and well-being section. Again, things I don't really know why they are necessary to be asked. So it's like health conditions, physical, mental, and what are they? Are you receiving any treatment for any of these conditions? If so, what? Medication, counselling, talking therapy. So it's like, fucking hell, mate. That's a fucking long list. Do you need this list? So I've tried to do that. Are you receiving input from any specialist agencies / health professionals? If so, who? And this is, again, I find these questions really vague. Who is considered a specialist agency or health professional? On verbatim, I've put on here, I really hate this question. I get asked this a lot. Who does this mean? What kind of specialist agencies or health professionals count here? I see a lot of people who I personally wouldn't consider specialists, but you might. The only specialist I see is myself. Do you take alcohol? Weird wording. How often and how much do you use them to reduce anxiety, boost your social confidence? So far at the moment, my response is that my current experience is I drink 1 or 2 a week, if that. But I am going to add a note here as well. Also, I've said that I think I'm intolerant to alcohol anyway. I'm going to add my note as well for like the whole, do you use them to reduce anxiety and boost your social confidence? Because I definitely used to do that a lot before I realised I was autistic. Yeah, I did that a lot. Basically, as soon as I started drinking, that's why I drank. Do you take street drugs? What are they? How often do you use them? Do you use them to reduce anxiety and boost social confidence? No, don't take anything illegally. What do you think your strengths are? This was a weird but kind of a nice question. And so is this next one. What are your aspirations? And in which way do you think your difficulties have impacted your life? So education, employment, relationships, mental health. I feel like that's one I've already answered when I've answered the previous questions. So it's a bit annoying to then have to give a conclusion later on that one. How would you like your life to be different from what it is now? Which I think is a nice question too. And the last question, is there anything else that would be helpful for us to know? And I've left that blank because honestly I have no idea. I have no idea. Yeah, so I just wanted to go through that because it's been hard filling that in, and it's going to continue to be hard to fill in because I hate filling in forms anyway. I hate filling in forms that are very clinical, complicated, long, and traumatizing. I don't want to relive half of these things that you're asking me about. I also just had no idea this was the form that Psychiatry UK use. I was basically expecting... Did I do a full AQ50? I feel like I did a full AQ50 as well for Psychiatry UK. You know, I wasn't expecting to fill in another form, especially not one this long and this detailed. I thought that more of it would be, you know, more similar to the ADHD one, which was definitely shorter. I think this just also shows the difference in the kind of experiences and care that you are expected to receive, the kind of things that you're expected to go through if you're ADHD versus if you're autistic. ADHD was a lot more focused on your actual academic abilities and your capitalistic abilities, whereas this one's a lot more to do with how horrible your experiences have been of literally every moment of your life. Like, you know, all I can do is laugh. It's just so much. And yeah, you're expected to, again, like, I don't know how to verbalize the differences between these two forms I've had to fill in for two different neurological differences I have. I can't think what the right word is again. Neurotype, that's the one. Yeah, I don't know how to verbalize how these two different forms for different neurotypes have, like, I don't know, the experience of filling each of these in when you are both, and just how different the perception is, and the oh god, what? Again, I can't find the word. The perception, and like the thing that's most focused on, I guess, because I do feel like this form focused mainly on the social interaction, which surprised me a little bit. I wasn't expecting it to be about so much of this social interaction, with sort of like a side helping of sensory and special interest stuff. Whereas, yeah, the ADHD one is, how useless are you at being productive? Like, yeah, the two forms in... If I had to minimize these forms down to one, like, sentence each, the autism assessment form is, how traumatizing was it to ever speak to people in your entire life all the time, and how useless are you at working, education, career, work? How useless are you at those things? And how annoying are you? I think both of them are like, how annoying are you to other people? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I really did this video. I just thought I would see what people thought of it. I think it's important to kind of, like, it feels like there's this smoke screen sometimes where you're not really sure what to expect from these kinds of assessments. I don't like that. I would like it to be easier to see and understand. I would like to see more people questioning and being confused about certain questions being asked in these questionnaires. So yeah, I'm just kind of doing that. I'm doing that for you. I'm doing that for myself and then for all of you. But yeah, like I haven't really shared the specifics of what my answers are, because yeah, they are not fun answers. This video would go on for fucking ever. It's already been an hour of filming just from me basically reading out the questions and laughing at them. But yeah, if you have been through this, or if you are currently going through this, let me know what your experience has been like. Let me know, you know, if what questions were weird and confusing to you. I love to know what people's own experiences are of the same thing. So yeah, if there's any questions that I maybe didn't bring up a lot in this video that you were kind of like, wait, hold on, what the fuck, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel, share my videos. It all helps algorithmically, but also yeah, it really helps support my channel, and I'm still working towards YouTube partner. Yeah, and all of your views are really helpful to reach the ridiculously high, like 4,000 watch hour time minimum for reaching YouTube partner. Yeah, also let me know in the comments if there's anything in particular you'd like me to talk about in videos. My brain's not working because I'm warm, so that's it for this week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.